Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and I thought it would be a perfect time to show you my vegetable garden. If you were with me last year, you saw a few videos where I was highlighting my veggie garden glow up, and I thought since I haven't done this yet, I want to show you what things look like and how well they're aging, they're maturing. The vegetable garden was a little bit slow to get started. It's been so dry here as it has been throughout the Midwest. We got some rain yesterday, but things are finally starting to pop, and I just want to show you what everything looks like and all the different products that I used back here and how they've come along. And I am thrilled to say that I am over the moon with how things look in my vegetable garden. And it's small, it's a small space raised bed garden, but I'm gonna flip this around and show you what's going on, how everything looks. And I hope that you'll be inspired to try something in, whether it's a container or maybe build some raised beds or whatever, or get some Vigo beds. Everything that I talk about will be linked below. So in the caption, you'll find links to the veggie garden glow up videos that I did last year. So you can see where I started and where I'm at right now. Compare that to where I'm at right now. So let me flip it around and you can see what's going on. So this is my space. I've got two 4x8 raised beds that my husband and I built a couple years ago. And originally these are cedar beds, and that was the first thing I put in, and the original surface was just a mulched surface. So part of my glow up last year was to stain my beds. So I power washed them, got all of the that's the gray haze that develops on them as cedar matures. I got all of that off before I did the whole staining process. And I used a stain from Vermont Natural Coatings, and it's a byproduct of the cheese making process. So it's made of whey, non-toxic, great for vegetable gardens. And I'm always interested in how, the color is going to mature. Will it be lasting? Will it look as good as it does the day I put it on? And I am happy to say it looks even better. So this is how it's aged, and there's a little bit of the wood color showing through, which is what I wanted. So this is charcoal gray, I think, but I'll put the link to that color below as well. But everything looks so good. The one thing I want to do is put a lip on here, kind of a cap, so that I've got a place to sit to when I'm planting. It makes it a little easier. But we built these a little higher. My garden, it's sloped, so it's lower down here, so we had to accommodate for that. So when we built this, they're shorter up front than they are in back. Had I had the chance to go back and redo this, it is still high enough for the rabbits to get in here. So if you follow me on Instagram, you see I've got just an explosion of rabbits, but it's much nicer than what it was, and I'm thrilled with how it looks and how that stain is maturing on the wood planks. And then my surface, I had wood chips down here, and I decided to take all of that out, and I partnered with Edgerite. So Edgerite sent me Cor-ten steel edging. That's this stuff here. Let me go on the other side, show you what this looks like. So the Cor-ten steel edging, and I've got to fix this little connection here. I've got to readjust that. So it's super easy to install. I did a video on that as well. It ages really nice. That is the natural patina it develops. It gets a rust patina, which helps to protect the surface of the Cor-ten steel. And to create my surface, I had a lot of people asking me if I put in landscape fabric. I hate that stuff. So I didn't do landscape fabric. I decided that I was going to dig out the mulch, and I was going to put in about 3 inches, I think, of compacted gravel. So I rented a hand tool from a tool supply store nearby for the day, and I dropped in about 3 to 4 inches of gravel base and compressed it down. And then on top of that, I dropped the pea gravel. And that, from what I've read, doing it that way with that gravel surface, that compacted gravel surface, when you want to do pea gravel on top of that gravel surface makes it a little more stable, so that you don't get, when you're stepping on it, your feet are not shifting as much. So it just makes it easier to walk in. So that was my surface. I'll link to Edgerite below as well. You can buy a little bit at a time. They come in 4-foot lengths, and there's different depths depending on how deep you're going to go. I believe I used the 6-inch depth on the steel pieces, but I think there's a 4-inch, there's an 8-inch, and it probably even comes, I think there's even larger widths. But let's get into the plants, which is the really fun part. So this is my bonfire peach tree. I have never grown this before, and look at the leaf color on that. It is so pretty, but even more importantly, look at my peaches, guys. So this is not really the type of peach that you're going to want to eat off the tree, from what I gather. It's more something you might make a jam from. I'm not going to have enough for jam. Look at that. Look at all my peaches. But it's something that, you know, when I harvest these, and they're still pretty hard yet, but I am going to make a little peach sauce for some vanilla ice cream. My daughter loves to make ice cream. I'm going to have her make some vanilla ice cream, and we're going to put a peach sauce over this. And I will show you that when it happens. But that is my bonfire peach. This is not something that's going to be able to stay out. I'm in a zone 5B, so I'm not going to be able to keep this out for the winter, of course, and it's container grown. So this will be one of those that comes in with me for the winter time. I'll just let it go dormant in the garage first and then move it to the basement. And then right next to it, look at my potatoes, you guys. Oh my goodness. So these are Magic Molly potatoes. I cut these up. I think I had 6 potatoes. I have a 15-gallon Smart Pot here. These are American made. These are made, I believe, in Oklahoma. But look at it, got blossoms on it. So for the 15-gallon Smart Pot, it's got handles on it, and I put 5 little seed potatoes in here that I cut into pieces, and I think I allowed 2 eyes on each piece. But it looks really happy in my Smart Pot. And what's really cool about Smart Pot is if you've never grown in them before and you have a certain crop that you want to grow, you can go to the Smart Pot website and enter in what you're looking to grow, and they'll tell you what size gallon bag they recommend, Smart Pot they recommend for whatever it is you're growing. So for my potatoes, they recommended a 15-gallon Smart Pot. And you might remember this Smart Pot. This is the Smart Pot that I grew my fig in, my Chicago Hardy fig. Well, I lost my fig this year. I don't know what happened to it. It just up and died on me. So I reused the pot, cleaned it all off, and it does naturally develop these mineral deposits on it. You can clean it off. That's the beauty of a Smart Pot. You can reuse them. So this will die back. But look at this. The Magic Molly potatoes are the purple potatoes. So I'm going to let this die back, and once all of this dies down, I've got a little bit of, some of the things are declining down low. That doesn't mean things are dying. It just means that as this declines, when it's completely wilted down and everything, it means that I'm ready to harvest. So I am really looking forward to purple potatoes. And that was I really wanted to introduce some interesting colored veg this year. I love things that are pretty too. So the Magic Molly potatoes kind of fit the bill for that. But it's just, let me back up here and show you. Isn't that really pretty? And it's so healthy looking, and the pot's reusable. So let me show you, because I love my figs, and I wanted something a little smaller because my Chicago Hardies that Chicago Hardy fig got pretty big in the pot, and it made it a little more difficult to store indoors because I brought it in every winter. So this time, in another Smart Pot, here's my new fig, guys. This is a phenomenal fig. It's meant to be grown in containers. So this is Hardy to 5, I believe. I'll have to double check that. But it's not going to get more than about 30 inches tall and wide, which makes it really easy to store for the winter. And I have it in a Smart Pot. I put this guy, he was quite little when I ordered it from Burpee, I believe, and he was pretty little when I got it, but they develop normal sized fruit, so you're not going to get dwarf fruit on this, or small fruit. But he is nice and happy, and I'm really glad that I've got a fig here that it's going to be a little bit more storage friendly for small space gardening. But Smart Pots are the way to go for this because they are so easy to lift. So the 5-gallon doesn't have handles on it, but look at that. I mean, I can pick that up easily. Let's see, does it give a size? 3 to 5 feet. It says 3 to 5 feet tall and wide, but I think it's more like, it's probably going to be more like 2.5 to 3. So I'm probably going to keep it in this container, this pot. I might go up another pot size, we'll see. But for right now, that phenomenal fig is really, really happy. So, and for those of you who follow along with me on Instagram or Facebook, you know, I am a Vigo Garden ambassador, so I want to show you these Vigo Gardens. I dropped these in because this space is a very narrow space back here, but I wasn't using the area back along the fence. So I dropped in 2 Vigo Gardens. I did the 6-in-1 Vigo Gardens, and I added the trellis to this one so that I could take advantage of the vertical space. So, and if you're wondering what these things are, these are their solar lights. And you guys, these are the coolest things. Vigo sent these to me, but they're magnetized. and the backs of them fit the groove of the corrugated metal sides on this. So, and you can turn them off. If you don't want to operate, you know, you don't want them glowing at night, you can shut them off. They're still going to gather sunlight energy, and then you can press the button and turn them back on. So if you don't want them, you can shut them off. But they're a really nice option. What I like about them is if I come back here to harvest something at night for whatever reason, the path is illuminated and it's not throwing light up. I don't like light going up. I like to keep my backyard as dark as possible for nighttime pollinators. This shines the light down, and it's just enough so that I can see where I'm going and I don't have to turn any bright lights on. So what I have in this bed on my trellis, and what I've learned, even though I'm taking advantage of vertical space, I had grand plans to, you know, plant the base of this and it would be full of veg. But my challenge is the fence. So this is the north side here and the southern side, but having the fence on the southern side really slows down how quickly this soil warms up in the springtime, and it limits the amount of light that comes in. So when I got I grew all of this from seed. I started all from seed indoors. You don't have to. So this is the incredible escalator climbing zucchini that has had some aphid issues, so I had to deal with that. You can see the aphid all over that, but I think I got a handle on it. I used some insecticidal soap, but you can see all these little fruits. They are the cutest things, the zucchinis, which is really nice because zucchini, if you've grown it, it takes over. I mean, it eats up a lot of space, and if you're a small space gardener like me, every little inch matters. So I've been experimenting, growing this up, and so far so good. I've got 2 plants here, and everything's flowering. I've got a lot of male flowers. Usually the male flowers are the ones that come out first. So you get a lot of males, or maybe I have that backwards. Let me see. Yep, I think it's the males that come out first. And let's see, this here is honey nut, butternut squash. And then I've got some salad slicer cukes over here, and everything's pretty happy. I've got some gem marigolds, some nasturtium, and I put in, this is my little dollar store trick. With all of my rabbit problems and chipmunk problems, I put these little dollar store whirligigs in to kind of create some movement back here and maybe scare things off a little bit. And I have one in each bed, and it seems to be working, and maybe it's short-lived, but I'll take any decrease in critter pressure right now. So far so good, and my cukes and my squash and my melons, everything's growing really well in these Vigo beds. And on one of my videos last year that went viral, I showed how I filled this bed, or my Vigo beds. And I used a lot of stuff that I had around the garden, and the fall is a perfect time to fill raised beds because you have a lot of things at your disposal. You've got leaves, you've got branches. I would not use the hugelkultur method that includes branches and tree trunks or whatever large limbs at the base of this if the depth of your bed is under 6 inches, because I think this is like, what is this, 15 inches deep? I'll have to double check. But the link to my beds, the 6-in-1 Vigo beds, are in the caption as well. But I didn't want to put the really thick limbs in here because it can cause some nitrogen issues, because as wood decomposes, especially in a shallow bed, it causes nitrogen problems, and the nitrogen becomes less available to your plants that you're trying to grow, and because the wood, as it's decomposing, absorbs all of that. So I didn't do that. I mean, you could if you've got deep beds. I probably could have done that in here. I just chose not to. So I used what I could for the base fill of these beds, and then I topped it off this spring because it decomposed so much in the winter time. I had to refill. I had to top it off with about 4 inches of raised bed soil. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to have to add more soil to it when you use that filling method. And then I have my sweet mint. I grow sweet mint every year because I love my mojitos and I love adding it to lemonade, and I make simple syrup with it so that my sweet tea has a little bit of a peppermint taste or minty taste to it. But this is just one of those things you can just cut off sprigs or just walk past it and smell it, and just don't plant it in your raised beds or in the garden in general, because mint, if you're not familiar with it, mint is aggressive. It spreads by it just spreads by stolons, and it just creates a really, really thick mat of more mint. So you really don't want to put that in the garden. That's why it's in a container. And that's the really nice thing. I've tried to include a lot of different containers in my garden so that I can grow a variety of things, and based on the size that I have. And a whiskey barrel fits the bill perfectly too. So in my whiskey barrel this year, I did some pole beans. This is Blue Lake. This is one of my favorites, but I've just got a cheapy trellis in here. And look at their flowering. I will have some stringless pole beans soon. And everything's looking really, really healthy. I had this idea that I was going to do some feverfew in here. I think this is Snowball, and I have some. I started it from seed, and I thought it'd be really pretty. And some of it might grow, but if you're not familiar with it, this variety will have these little balls, white balls all over it, and I just thought that would look so pretty. So if I back up, imagine like all these little white snowball flowers coming out. And then the pole beans there. Thought it would be really, really pretty. So, and then I've got a little pot here that I did. This is lavender, and then I've got a pechoa. It's a cross between a petunia and a calabricoa. So, and what's interesting about this is because my bunnies like, so this one, let's see. This is a calaburst yellow. Pechoa. And it's a cross between the petunia and the calabricoa. So vibrant yellow blooms on a mounded plant look great in baskets, mixed combo planters, and patio blooms, early spring to fall, full sun. But I love yellow flowers, and I thought the yellow flower with this gorgeous lavender would be super pretty. So that's that container, and the rabbits have pruned it back so that when you pinch things like when you pinch your annuals, and I didn't have to pinch this one because the rabbits pinched it for me, they should fill out even more and get really nice and lush if they get a chance to grow. So to take more advantage of vertical space, I have a hog panel trellis here, and on the one side I've got tomatillos. I've got both the green and the purple variety here. One of my favorite things to make is salsa verde. So tomatillos, you want more than one plant. You need the extra plants for pollination, so you get a heavy fruit set. So my tomatillos are looking really, really healthy. Lots of flowers. I am going to have tons of salsa verde this year, and that's great for me. And then on the other side of this are my cherry tomatoes, which are just taking off like crazy. So I've got 3 different varieties. My favorite is Sun Gold, or is it Sun Gold? I'm trying to remember. It's not Sun Gold. I'll have to double check that. But I've got, then I've got what, the Midnight Rose, I think it might be. These were all started from seed. Let me see if I still have, Indigo Rose. So I've got Indigo Rose here. That's a beautiful, like bluish, blackish, small cherry tomato. And then the Sunsweet maybe is the one. And then I've got another one, and I can't remember the name of it offhand. Let me see if I've still got tags in here. Oh, Sun Dipper. So let's see if we got any fruit on the Sun Dippers. I had a heck of a time growing the Sun Dipper from seed. I don't know what was going on with that, but I think it's going to be okay. So which one is this one here? Sun Sugar. That is my favorite one. For whatever reason, I couldn't remember. The Sun Sugar is my favorite yellow tomato. And I've got a lot of little fruits coming on. And here, let's see if I can show you. Yeah. So I will train the cherry tomatoes up the hog panel trellis, and the tomatillos will come up this side, and everybody will be happy. So in this raised bed, let me see, I've got some nasturtium. All of this was started from seed. I've got plenty of bindweed in here too. I swear bindweed and rabbits have been the scourge of the nemesis this spring. I swear, it's been awful. But I also grow I love basil. I love making basil pesto. But this, if you're looking for a basil that really does well in small spaces, this is Emerald Towers emerald green basil. So this gets about 3 feet tall, and it's got this very cylindrical shape. It'll come straight up. I've got 5 of them in here, and the more you pinch it, the bushier it gets. And that's typical of any plant, any basil really, or herb. Pinch and you will get more. It fills in so nice. And I was a little concerned about these guys because they did not look so good. It took a long time for them to get started. And my cucamelons want to eat everything. That's what these little vines are coming through. got cucamelons coming through here. Oh gosh, so I'll have to fix that later. But this little trellis is cucamelon. My husband loves to add these. They look like little watermelons, but they have kind of a cucumbery citrus flavor to it. And I don't have any fruits yet, but I've got little flowers. You can see, look at that little guy. So that will be a cucamelon. They're prolific. Once they start fruiting, I mean, watch out. Just keep picking. You will have a ton of cucamelons. But I'm also seeing more bindweed in here, so I need to get in here and just pull this stuff out. And then through here, I've got sunflowers. I love working sunflowers into my raised beds. And my garlic. So this is, I grow one variety of garlic. This is music hardneck garlic. I've got a blog post about this. I will link to that in the caption below. This is, looks like it's about ready to harvest. It's about ready to harvest. Sorry guys, I have neighbors that have little yappy dogs, but this is music, and I took the scapes off and made garlic scape pesto last 2 weeks ago and froze that. But since doing that, usually once you take the scapes, remove the scapes, the garlic will be ready for harvest in about 4 to 6 weeks. So I've been keeping an eye on it. I dug down a little bit in here yesterday, and I didn't feel like they were quite ready. But as you don't want it to go completely yellow, that, you know, you don't want it. For every leaf that you have on here, that is a layer of skin covering your garlic. If all of this is allowed to go brown when you harvest, your garlic is less likely to store well. So you want to harvest it when you've got about 50% of the leaves have died back. So, and I'm just about there. I might give it 1 more week. Some of them could use a little bit more time, I think, but it's looking really, really good. And then I've got another emerald towers, not emerald towers, it's a Thai basil, but it's got the same growth habit as the emerald towers, and just a different fragrance, different flavor. That's this one here. That's emerald towers Thai basil. I think that's what it's called. And then I've got a little bit of thyme here, some more nasturtium, and check out this is prism bell pepper. So this is a mid-sized bell pepper. Look at the little fruits on there. So it's a new introduction. Ball Seeds sent me this as a trial, and it has 3 different colors on it fruit at the same time. So it's going to be like green, reds, and orange fruit. I think it's about a 30-inch tall plant, and it looks really, really happy, and I'm excited to try this guy. So, but aren't they the cutest thing? I love that plant. So that's this bed here, and I showed you these guys here. So let's move down a little further. And this is a rose I want to show you from Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs. This is a flavorette honey apricot rose, and I have it in my vegetable garden because it's edible. So the rose it was bred for flavor. I mean, who breeds roses for flavor, right? But this is one of the first of its kind, and I was so excited. I went to the Proven Winners influencer meetup last November, and they introduced this to us, and they sent it to me this spring, but they even sent this little tag. So cool. But it's supposed to have this really lovely flavor. The rose petals have this gorgeous flavor. I have it in a container. I originally had this guy in the ground. He wasn't getting enough sun. He looked terrible. And then the baby rabbits were getting after it too. So I got him in a pot, and I'm getting all these buds on it. I will transplant this to the garden in the fall sometime, but all these buds are coming on, and I'm really excited about this. So that's flavorette honey apricot rose from Proven Winners, but looks nice and happy in the container now. And moving on to my corn. You guys, I'm so stoked about this corn. We had a storm yesterday, and I was really concerned about it because every year I've grown corn, right when it gets to a really nice height, we have a windstorm and everything gets toppled. So I thought last night might be the time that it's going to get leveled down, but so far so good. This is a variety I'm growing from Burpee, and it's a bicolor variety, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'll link to that below as well. But I paired it with borage, and that's here, and the borage is about to flower. Look at that. And the flowers on borage are edible. They're very tasty, kind of a citrusy flavor to them, and they're beautiful blue flowers. Grew it from seed. Everything here grew from seed. But it's a really nice pairing because the borage is supposed to deter the worms that do a number on corn. So check out this corn, you guys. Isn't that beautiful? And again, this is another Vigo bed. This is another 6-in-1, and that's the beauty of the Vigo beds. I ended up making this one a little bit shorter than the one over here because that's what's so nice about it. You can adjust the size of it. So all of these are all panels. I took a panel out so that I could fit it in this space so that I could grow as much as possible in here. And this is my compost bin. I replaced my composter with one that I can turn. I'll link to that as well. This one side is pretty full, and I've just started the other side. This composter, I always tell people who are interested, have questions about it, it leaks. So you want to go to like Home Depot in their their concrete section or whatever. They have these cement mixing trays, and they are perfect. They fit under here so perfectly to catch all that juice. And then I use the juice to water my flowers. So, I mean, why waste any nutrients, right? So and I think this container was like $7. So really nice way to capture all those lovely juices that are coming out of your compost bin. And I have one more Vigo bed in here. This is my small one for my berries. So I'm forgetting the name of this one. This might be the kids one and the kid size one. So I've got a strawberry drop coleus, that's new from Proven Winners, and some calabricoa. Do I have the tag in here? I think it's like smitten pink or something. And oh wait, here it is. Superbell's double smitten pink is this variety. And it's not getting as much sun as I thought it might. I need to limb back my pussy willow trees back here to get it more light. But I do have, I put some everbearing strawberries, a few plants in here. But the main event of this container is the raspberry shortcake raspberry bush from Bushel and Berry. That I just dropped that in about a month ago. And it looks pretty happy. And once it gets a little more light, I think this whole container will take off. But if you watched me in one of my previous videos, these are these everbearing strawberry plants. Let's see. Oh, we've got some fruit. Nice. So my seed starting plan with the strawberries did not go as according to plan, and I don't think I will ever try growing strawberries from seed again. It's such a pain. It's just so much easier to buy some roots or some plants that are already started and drop them into your garden than trying to do it from seed, but live and learn, right? And speaking of Bushel and Berry, I've always wanted to grow blueberries, but blueberries don't do so well in the ground here in our very heavy clay alkaline soil. So I got another plant from Bushel and Berry. This one is jelly bean, and I'm getting fruit on it. Look at that. It is the cute, and they are delicious, you guys. But it's got a little bit of chlorosis, so I came in with some iron and dropped it in. I also put in a little hollytone to acidify the soil a little more. So I've not grown. This is the second summer this has been in the ground, so I'm just experimenting and learning as I go, which is the whole point of all of this anyway. But it looks pretty good. And then I've got a tricolor sage here, and oh my goodness, it smells so good. And I think this is probably my most favorite calabricoa. This is something that was sent to me. This is TikTok apricot here, and it's not really showing right now, but I will show it to you later. But the flowers on this, not really a good example here, but when the flowers are in full sun, when the sun's hitting this, it's morning yet, when the sun is hitting this, it has this iridescence to it, and it's a satiny look, and it just shimmers. It is the most beautiful calabricoa I think I've ever seen. So you will be seeing that in future Instagram reels or videos. I will update you on all of that. So it's a beautiful plant. And back here in this bed are my purple peas from Botanical Interests. Isn't that pretty? So one of my things for next year with the wind, this got really top heavy, and I'm going to need to rethink my trellising. I'm going to build something different here, but they're still delicious. It's just a beautiful plant too. So let me show you, give you the 360 on that. It's so pretty. And then next to it, I've got some shooting star, I think is it called, shooting star eggplant. And it has, one is looking better than the other, yeah. Shooting star. Yep, shooting star. So this is another one I grew from seed. Oh, and I have some fruit starting on it, or some flowers, so nice. So I've got two here. One is not doing so well. I mean, he's growing a little bit. This one's doing really well. And then moving on, I've got more music garlic. That's the hardneck variety. I've got my jalapeno peppers in here because I do love to make my jalapeno pepper jelly. And my husband will eat these he'll eat jalapenos like we eat apples. So I've got I think I've got 5 plants in here that I've tucked in. And then once I dig up my more garlic here, I will probably put in maybe some carrots here. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to do down there yet, but carrots here. And let me take you around the other side here to show you something that, if you've grown tomatoes, the indeterminate varieties, so indeterminates are really difficult to manage in any garden, especially in a small space garden. So I was talking about this on a reel a couple years ago or somewhere, and my friend Erin, she's the Impatient Gardener, she's like, you got to try these tomatoes from the Dwarf Tomato Project. So she sent me some seeds, and I've been hooked ever since then. So the goal of the Dwarf Tomato Project has been to create tomatoes that have all of the fruit bearing ability, the constant fruit bearing ability of the indeterminates on a plant that's more like the size of a determinate variety. So look at how sturdy. These are from seed as well, but look at these. Look at the stems on these guys. So I don't like to have to stake things if I can help it, but from having grown these last year, I discovered that a stake in here really does help keep it tidy. But all of them, they are just really, really sturdy plants, you guys. So I've got 3 different varieties. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. I have Black Angus one. I have a paste tomato in here too. So which one is this? Chocolate Lightning. They have the best names too. I don't know how they come up with these names. And then, let's see, I did a blog post on this. This one is, let's see, who do we have here? Audrey's Love. I think, yeah, this is my paste tomato. So I tried to do one that's like a beef steak, one that's a paste. I forget what the other one is, but yeah, do check that out. Go to my blog, hereshegrows.com. I wrote a blog post about these guys. It's a really nice option for small spaces, or anybody who's not wanting to deal with the indeterminates getting all gnarly and crazy and having to, keep them in check. And then I've got a couple bell peppers back here as well. We don't eat a lot of bell peppers. They don't agree with us really, but they're so good for flavor. So when you're making different dishes, and I do a lot of cooking. And that is my veg garden, guys. We did some lighting back here too. I thought up these copper poles, and we have some LED lights. So we attached these guys, these poles, these support poles, to our fence, and we strung some LED lights through here, and it just has the most beautiful look in the evening. So that's my veg garden, and we eat everything in it, and I'm absolutely loving it. Oh, and the one thing, being totally transparent, I cannot grow rhubarb, you guys. I really struggle. He looks great, and then he dies back, and then he starts shooting up these new things, these new leaves. I don't know what I'm doing. But I also introduced an Oya. I love this thing. So I really haven't had to water this area because if you're not familiar with Oyas, it's a terracotta vessel you bury in the ground, and then you fill it with water. And the idea is the plant roots grow toward the moisture that is emitted from the vessel, and you shouldn't have to water that much. So I've been trying that, and so far so good. I just cannot get a grip on how to grow rhubarb. And you're probably like, oh my gosh, I grow rhubarb like crazy. It's like a weed. Well, that's not me. That is one of my biggest challenges. All right, guys, that's my vegetable garden the way it is on the very last day of June, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to start eating some of this stuff. I mean, we've already started to eat some of the peas and everything, and some of the lettuces. The lettuce, we have a few lettuce plants left in there, but they're pretty much done. But I've got other things. Oh, before I sign off, let me show you one more thing. So you know how I mentioned about cutting off the scapes on my garlic so that the bulb can develop? I mean, if I leave the scapes on there, the bulb will not develop, and all the energy, the plant will send all of its energy into those little bulbils that are on the top of it. Is that what you call it, bulbils? It puts its energy into producing seed, basically. You don't want it to do that, so I take the scapes off, but that's also my cue to start some of my cooler temperature loving plants. So I've got, this is a Vigo tray. These are the jumbo Vigo seed starting trays. This is a 10 by 10, I'll link to that too. But I've got my Romanesco broccoli. I've got rutabaga. Rutabaga is very big in my family during the holidays and Thanksgiving. We always have rutabaga. So I thought this year it's my first time growing rutabaga, and I want to be able to mash this stuff, grow it myself, and mash it up and serve it on our Thanksgiving table. It's all going to be homegrown. So this is the rutabaga, and I think this one's called Eleanor? I can't remember offhand. I'll have to check my notes. And then I've got a red cabbage and a Sun King broccoli. So all of them can take the cool temperatures. They can take a little bit of frost. They actually get sweeter. So their flavor intensifies and sweetens when they're exposed to cooler temperatures. And then you don't have the pest pressure of like the cabbage moths and that sort of thing that'll just love the cabbage, the broccoli, the cauliflower. So I'm avoiding that, and that way I can harvest this at the very end of the season and have something on our holiday table. So I hope I've shown you a couple different ways to grow in a small space. We've got whiskey barrels, and you can build some raised beds out of cedar, but the price of wood is extremely expensive right now. So I would suggest having a look at the Vigo Garden site, and if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer questions. But the Vigo beds are a really cost friendly, budget friendly way to start growing, and you don't have to go big. Start small, and that is the best way to be successful. Start small and build from there. So whiskey barrels are good. The Vigo beds, if you've got the cash to build some raised beds, do that. The smart pots, so fabric pots. Check the Smart Pot website if you've got something specific that you want to grow. See what size bag they recommend and go for it. So the only way to get better at gardening is to experiment and learn from your mistakes and celebrate your success. So, all right guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy gardening.